everybody. Welcome back to our channel. If this is your first time watching us, I'm Tawana.
And I'm Lucian.
And this is our channel,
Autism Journey Times 2.
We basically created this channel to help you guys get a look into our autism journey. If this is your first time watching, I'll go ahead and quickly explain that we do have two boys that are on the autism spectrum. We have a 14-year-old, which is about to be 15 next month.
This month.
This is April. Okay,
yes.
So this month, April 26th is his birthday. He'll be 15 years old, and he is high-functioning autistic. Basically, he had a lot of issues in the beginning. Well, but if you want to see it, you can go back to the video where we explained, his diagnosis.
We'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, we'll drop it down below. Then we have an 8-year-old. He turned 8 in January, and he is considered severely autistic. He's nonverbal, and he has childhood apraxia of speech. So that's the reason why they consider him severely autistic, because he's nonverbal. But the last video that we did, we basically described the way our family members, like the reactions that we got from our family members and our friends when they heard about the autism diagnosis, or when we basically broke it to them that our kids were diagnosed with autism. So we thought that in the spirit of Autism Awareness Month, that we'll go ahead and tell you guys about when we first got introduced to autism and how we reacted to the diagnosis, and just, steps we took. And basically, I think we're just going to, not the steps we took, we're going to basically discuss our feelings. I mean, we'll just go ahead and put that out there, get this video out the way so that we can, move past it. A lot of people are very interested in knowing how we felt about our children being diagnosed. And, me and Lucian have had several moments where we've talked about it, whether it's been together or with other people. And we've just basically described how we feel about it. So we're going to go ahead and let you guys know, how we felt about it. And in the spirit of me not hogging all the camera time, we're going to let Lucian talk. You guys always laugh about how Lucian doesn't ever talk.
Yes.
So we're going to let him talk. We're going to let him talk. Okay. But I guess what we'll talk about first is Tyshawn, since he came first. Let's see. Well, I guess I have to talk about that first, because I'm the one who initially got the diagnosis. Basically, if you guys saw it in our last video, which I'll try to figure out how to pin that, in one of these corners somewhere. But anyways, I'm trying my best to be YouTube savvy. But basically, I was the first person who got his diagnosis because Lucian was overseas at the time.
I was deployed.
He was deployed. I'm sorry. We were overseas living in Germany, and he was deployed at the time that we received his diagnosis, or I received his diagnosis. I guess for me, the first time I heard the word autism was basically when they told me about Tyshawn. And I have to say that in the beginning, I was shocked. Like, I was taken aback, but I also feel like I didn't register, what the emotional part of having a child with autism. And the reason why I didn't register it was because it was just like, okay, you say he's autistic? Boom. What's next? And I literally, hit the ground running. It was just me because he was gone. So it was like, I have to do what I need to do. I need to get on top of this. I need to figure out what it is, figure out what he needs, and go. So basically, I think that in the beginning, I never processed it. So to say the least, I didn't really feel anything about it in the beginning. I'll just say that, and then I'll go back to later on when I did feel some way about it. But Lucian?
All right, okay, so for me, like she said, I was deployed when I got the news. So it was almost the same thing too. Like, okay, first I'm hearing this word. What does it mean? What does it entails? Is there a cure, or is it some way to fix it? Because we were pretty much new parents. It was our first child, so we already new parents. Ty was 19 months at the time. So immediately you get on the computer and start researching, like, okay, autism, what does it mean? And then you look up the symptoms, and you see like a lot of the symptoms that I was listed on the internet was a lot of the stuff that Ty was doing, and I'm like, man, like that's him. Like, okay, a lot of the stuff is him. Okay, now so what do we got to do as parents to to get him the help or the services that he need. And so that's what we started doing. We started seeing the stuff we're talking about, early intervention. And I'm like, okay, all right. So we started doing that. And of course, by the time I'm researching this, she had already researched it and already was getting the ball rolling and already doing those things, starting those things already. So I'm like, okay, good. So we on the same page and making sure we need to do what we need to do. Like I said, it was still new. I'm still deployed, and I'm trying to help the best way I can, being away from home. And then, of course, as a dad, it sucks because I'm away from home. I want to be there to help my wife and help my son. So I had to do what I could, being abroad, trying to, figure out what I need to do that I can help, even though I'm not there. So I didn't want her, dealing with this or doing it by herself.
Yeah, so, a lot of the researching came from Lucian. So that's what he was doing on his end, which I truly appreciated because I really just felt like I didn't have the time to do anything because I was too busy, like basically putting, I guess, foot to pavement, trying to, trying to get things done. So to say the least, I mean, I had no feelings towards it. Initially I had no feelings. So fast forward to when, fast forward to when we had Taylor. Okay. So I think that for me, from my perspective, I put so much energy, so much focus in Tyshawn, trying to get him where he needed to be, got him on the path where we needed him to be, and we're like, boom, okay, now we can focus on baby number 2. So let's go ahead, have another baby. Have this child where we know that we've already put the other one on the right path, because we were really dead set on not having that second child and taking away from him, not having that second child and taking away from, what we needed to do for him, taking the focus off of him. So we decided to wait until he was on the right path before we had that other child. Needless to say, it was 7 years later, but my thing is like, that's what worked for us, 6 years. Well, yeah, 6.
Yeah, because okay. Born at 6 and he turned 7.
So 6 years later, when we had Taylor, so my thing was like, that's what worked for us. I mean, having kids that far apart, at first I thought it would be a breeze because I'm like, okay, cool, want to be in school, then I'll be at home with the other. That's simple. Nope, no. Not so simple, because it's like, crap, I'm starting all the way over. We were starting over. Then it's like, Tyshawn will be in school. I'll be home with Taylor. You got to sleep when the baby sleeps. So I would be exhausted, during the day, exhausted because I'm up at night. It was crazy, but it took some getting used to. But I mean, eventually it worked out, right? So let's just go to Taylor's. So where were we? We were in Minot. Okay. So we were in Minot. Taylor was around 1.5 years old, or around 1 year old, like between 1 and 1.5 years old. And he started displaying some of the symptoms, right? So of course, us, we're like, boom. He has, every time we're on here with y'all, here goes Ace. For real. Okay. So we're like, boom, we got this. We know what it is. We know the symptoms. We know the what symptoms? Yeah. We know the things to look for. We know this is what it is. We know he has autism. Okay, because we were already looking for it, right? Because it's like they say the chances are high for you to have another child that was on the spectrum. We didn't get tested for the Fragile X chromosome because we felt like knowing that wouldn't determine whether we had another baby or not. So it didn't make sense to go through that, taking Ty through that testing and us through that testing. So we didn't do that. So, okay. Got Taylor and took him to a psychiatrist. In Minot. And she was basically specialized in diagnosing, children with special needs, disabilities, things like that or whatever. So we went there. Taylor was about 18 months. Yeah. Went there, told her all our symptoms. She tested Taylor and she said, okay, we're going to say that he is possibly, autistic. We're not going to say that he's autistic. I don't want to throw that word out here that soon, but I'm just going to say that he's basically, I can't remember what the word she used. I can't remember. Like basically just saying he's possibly autistic.
But she didn't want to do it too early.
Right, but she didn't want to do it so early. So she gave us the paperwork that basically said that he probably is more than he is more than he isn't. And that way it'll get him in for services. He can start early intervention. And she told us to bring him back in 6 months when he turned 2. Yeah. Okay. So we did that. Got him into early intervention, which we were like, cool, because that's really all we wanted. Diagnosis is just, basically what gets you in the door. So it was like, okay, we got him into early intervention, and then when he was 2, brought him back, and she gave him the diagnosis. Yeah. She just said that he was what did she call him? It wasn't severe. No, it was, I guess she just said he was autistic. I can't remember exactly what she said really right at this moment, That
didn't come to leaving.
Yeah. So she said he was, autistic. So we were like, okay, we knew that. So all we needed was a diagnosis. Thank you. So we go about our business. Now, I have to admit, when we found out about Taylor, I felt a little relieved because I think that I knew that's what it was. I also felt relieved because I felt like me and Lucia knew what to do. Mm-hmm. So we felt like, oh, good, bang, we're ahead of, we're ahead of it. So we know what to do. We're what do you call it? Like around the curve, or, we're ahead of the curve, or whatever. Not behind the curve, but it's like ahead of the curve, whatever. Okay, we're up here. Autism is back here. We're up here because we got it, right? So, as far as Taylor, I think that at that moment, I didn't have too many emotional feelings. I just,
because we already watched Ty go through it, and thinking you're thinking along the lines of, well, we already did this one time, that he's gonna be on the same level as Ty, and we'll get him where he needs to be too.
Right.
And we were sadly mistaken.
Very mistaken. So, as time goes on, we realized that, Taylor's not that simple. His stuff was not textbook. It was not cut and dry. So it was like, okay, we're lost. We got lost. It was like, okay, don't know how to deal with this. We ended up seeking services. We started getting him into like occupational therapy and whatnot, speech therapy. In speech therapy, he wasn't saying any words, but eventually he started saying a couple of words. Occupational therapy, he was thriving with that, but it was just something about it that we just couldn't put our finger on. So, Taylor was different, which made us like step back and like, like, oh crap, like, what do we do? Like, now I feel like I know nothing about autism. So, that was the feeling that I had then, that I felt like I didn't know what to do. Then it was like, okay, well, let me just get my research together. Let me get my books out. Let me get, whatever I need to do to research and try to, get ahead of this and try to figure out what it is that I'm facing, basically, or we're facing. So I want to say a pivotal part for me, I guess I say that. Now, this was a pivotal part for me emotionally. Basically, Lucian was in Italy. Me and the boys were staying in Georgia, because that was around the time, in the other video where we told, that was around the time where they wouldn't accept Taylor for a clearance. They wouldn't clear him to go overseas because they felt like he may need more services as time goes on, because he was so young that they didn't want to send him over there just to send us back. So everybody got cleared except for Taylor. So okay, we were like, okay, fine. Me and the boys will go to Georgia. We stayed across the street from my sister, and we were like, okay, fine, we'll do that. You go over to Italy for 2 years, and then we'll, meet back up after that. So, the pivotal change for me was when we were trying, because we were trying to still get to Italy. So it was like, they were like, if you go here and get him tested by this, developmental pediatrician that was in Eglin, Air Force Base at this time, they were like, go get him evaluated there, and then we'll, look it over and see if we can approve him. If he approves him to go overseas, then we'll, let him come overseas. So, I went there, had Taylor tested. So me and my sister, me and my sister and Tyshawn, our oldest, we went down to Eglin. We had Taylor had him evaluated by a developmental pediatrician. And that's when he hit me with okay, he's severely autistic because he's nonverbal. Now, I don't know about anyone else, but the word severely cut like a knife. Like, for me, it, like, literally was like somebody reached into my chest and pulled my heart out. It's one thing to hear autism, because, okay, we know how to handle autism, but we've never heard autism with the word severe in front of it for our kids. So it literally took me for a loop. And I just remember all the way back home, being in the car. I know my sister was talking to me all the way home, but I just felt like I was so, like, stuck. Severe. So the whole ride, I'm like holding back tears. I'm like probably crying, of course, I'm sure, but literally like holding back tears because I'm like, severe. That like, call me Soldier Boy. I'm like, severe, like, Really, like, I mean, like, that's how I was like, what do you mean severe? So, the whole time I'm just like stuck. And I felt like, to me, that was a pivotal moment in my life that made me really like break down emotionally about the word autism. Mainly because the severe, I didn't know what to do with it. A nonverbal child, I didn't know what to do with that. So to me, that was hard. Like, that was my breakdown. And like I told Lucian a lot of times, I was like, I feel like I literally just spent everything I had emotionally, put everything I had emotionally into Tyshawn so much that when it got to Taylor, it was like I was just out. I was out of steam. I was just out of it. And then it's like not knowing that I should have saved a lot of that because that's where I needed most of it with Taylor. So that was a hurtful moment for me. Um, but yeah, so yeah, we'll get back to that in a minute. But yeah, what about you? Like,
All right, so for me, once I got the news of um, Taylor,
what? I'm thirsty.
um, Taylor being severely autistic. So once again, it's the same thing. All right, what does this mean? And then of course you go online, and sometimes Google can be your friend, and sometimes Google can be your enemy, your worst enemy. So you get on there and you start looking severely autistic, and then what does that mean, and what the diagnosis mean, and what can you do to help. And you're looking at it and it's like, okay, severely autistic and nonverbal, and you're looking at these, all the things, symptoms for nonverbal. And it was one of those things like Taylor was, he had some vocabulary, and then he was losing them. As fast as he was gaining them, he was losing them.
Mm-hmm.
I left and went to Italy. I came back. I left in August of 15. I came back Christmas time frame that same year, and Taylor used to say "go" all the time. It was like you hit go, 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 go. I get back, and he had stopped saying that, and I was like, wow, like I only was going for 4 months, and in that 4 months time frame, you lost another word. He used to say car, didn't say that anymore. So me seeing witnessing that when I came back home, the visit, and I'm like, man, like this is this is a lot more serious than way serious than what we dealt with Ty, because with Ty, it was almost like we had training wheels on, and then it was like, okay, hey, after year 3 of dealing with Ty, take the training wheel off, and we were riding, riding free. And then when it came to Taylor, it's like we needed training wheels, helmet, elbow pad, knee pad, because it was a whole totally different thing. Like we're starting all over again, and you're starting, at square one, and it sucked. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It sucked. As a parent, it's like now you go from, okay, my child is severely autistic, and then you're telling me that he's severely autistic because he did not have any speech, and so as parents now we're like, okay, well, now will our child ever talk? How do we get him to talk? Then once they moved to Georgia, and then when I would talk to Tawana, and she would give me reports of him being at the therapy, and she's like, this therapy's not working, I don't think it's working. He ain't picking up no words. It's almost like he's going there and it's going through the motions. So then like, okay, like, well, so then what do we do next? Because like that, for us, we thinking, okay, speech therapy. And as y'all saw in the video we talked about Taylor, this whole time it was childhood apraxia instead of autism. So we lost some precious years. Thinking it was just focusing on speech therapy and ABA, when all the while it was childhood apraxia.
See, but the thing about the apraxia was that it took a special speech therapist. It had to be a speech therapist that specialized in apraxia to catch that. So every speech therapist he had been with, I'm not sure if they had that specialty, but I never heard about it at all from anybody, right? So when we get to Mississippi, And I take him to the speech therapist, and it's like he's there, and like he's not picking up any words, not doing this or whatever. And she was like, "Well, I'm thinking that he might have what's called apraxia of speech." And I'm like, "What is that?" Because I've never heard of apraxia. So of course, get me a book, get in here, and try to figure out what it is, reading up on it. And I'm like, "Oh, yep, that's what he does. Yep, that's how he is." Da da da. The fact that he'll say a word one day and you may not ever hear that word again. Now that's apraxia. It's basically where it's like I said before in the other video, it's where the signals are crossed between the brain and the mouth. So the signal that's telling the mouth what to say from the brain, some kind of way it gets crossed and it just comes out wrong. And what they like to compare it to is a person that's had a stroke, because that person may know what they're trying to say. They may want to say pizza, but it comes out as bzz, or like blah, or like blah, basically. Okay, yeah, something like that, right? So like with Taylor, that's how his words were. And every now and then, he'll throw out a word, but it was like you'll get so excited, but you'll never hear that word again. No matter how much you try
to make him repeat it.
No matter how much you try to get him to repeat it, you will never hear that word again. It's mainly because they say that it's like he can say words when his brain isn't telling him to say a word. So impromptu words, like say for instance, if he's fussy and he's crying or whatever, you'll hear sounds from him that you can't even get him to say on command, or can't get him to do on command. So that's what that went into. So back to how, how I felt when it came to the whole apraxia thing. I felt deflated. I felt empty when I heard about that, because all I could think about, and I told Lucian, I was like, the only thing I could think about is all the years that were wasted on speech therapy. This boy had been going to speech therapy since he was like 2. And now he was what, 5?
Like 5 or 6.
Like 5, 5.5, 6 or whatever. That's 3-4 years wasted on what? Like he was just going just to be going. So that right there made me so upset, because all I could think about was the point of autism is early intervention. The point of early intervention is early intervention. I've lost the early part, so there I was, there we were back at square one. And I felt horrible. Like I felt like, of course, as a parent, first thing I'm thinking is, okay, Tawana, why didn't you figure this out? Why didn't you know? Why didn't you look into this? Why didn't you do this? Why? So I had to get out of that, and I have to admit, like while we were in Germany together and things like that, I had to go seek counseling. I ended up being on antidepressants. I ended up being on anxiety meds, because it was like I didn't know how much I was pouring into my children until it was just me. So when I was by myself, it was like it really put a strain on me, my mental health, everything, because it was like all I did was take care of my kids. Take care of our kids. Say my kids, because I'm thinking about me being by myself. But take care of our kids and just, pour into them. So I was in a bad space. And literally the only reason I would get up and do what I need to do was because of my kids. That was it. If it wasn't for my kids, I would probably just sit in the bed all day. There's no telling. But it's like, it really, like, up until then, I had never even hadn't had any issues with depression or anxiety. And I can be honest and say that a lot of times when people used to throw out anxiety and depression, like I wouldn't say that I would think they were lying, but I wasn't a like true believer of the diagnosis. I was just like, okay, yeah, but my thing was like I didn't really understand it. And it might be one of those things where a lot of people don't understand it until you're dealing with it. Like you don't understand how real it is until you're dealing with it. But hey, right now I'm a true believer, because I know that if I don't take care of my mental health, I know that it's so easy for me to go down that rabbit hole. And I know that me, the parent that I am, is that I will pour everything I have into my family. Good thing and a bad thing, because you pour everything you have into your family, then it's like you're empty and you don't ever think about self-care, self-love, that kind of thing. So, that's one of the things. So, me and Lucian are working on. We've been working on being more open with each other about our feelings about our children, because it had got to a point where it was like he was trying to be strong for me. I guess I was trying to be strong for him. So when it came down to us talking about our feelings about the kids, we rarely talked to each other.
Yeah, we never really talked
about. Well, yeah.
Well, I mean,
with Ty we did. Yeah. With Taylor, we rarely talked about what we were going through with each other. I always felt like, because he didn't understand, because he wasn't there like I was since he was overseas and whatnot, But I also understood as a mother, it just felt like to me that as a mother, you feel like you're kind of in a lane by yourself. It's like, okay, nobody worries like the mom. Nobody feels the responsibility and that just pressure like the mom. Because if anything goes wrong, if anything goes right, everybody looks at the mom and they say, good job. Or they say, what was she doing? You his mama. Why is he, why is this? Why is that? Or whatever. So I felt like a lot of the pressure was on me, and which is, the wrong way to feel. I have to admit that once me and him did have a conversation about it, and I felt like he was kind of bearing some of the burden that I had on myself, and the guilt, and the just, that the pressure that I had on myself to make sure everything goes right, and the kids are going in the right direction. Once I felt like he was taking some of that off me, like I have to admit, like as of now, I feel so much better because I feel like, I have my husband back, I have my partner back, and I know that, we're in this together rather than me feeling like it's all on me and everything rests on me. And, so I have to say, as of now, with the kids' diagnosis, like I'm finally to a point where, for Taylor especially, where I'm not so focused on him being like other people, him being normal, so to speak. I'm not focused on that anymore. I'm getting to the point where, my friend, she brought this up to me one day. She was like, is he happy? Is he healthy? And I'm like, yeah, he seems happy. And she's like, well, that's the most important thing. Shout out to Kelly. Hello. What? That's who it was. It was Kelly.
I know who it was.
But anyways, honestly, and that made me feel so much better because it's like, for years, I know myself, I used to beat myself up and be like, okay, he's not talking this year, maybe he'll talk next year, and then next year we'll tackle pottying, next year we'll tackle this, we'll tackle all these things, because you don't know how to teach a nonverbal child pottying. You got to learn how to know how to say something to say potty. Nope. Next year roll around, nothing. Then it was like, the next year you would say it. And then it's like every year you were being like chopped down from here to here to here to here. Then eventually it was like I told myself, stop doing that. Stop doing that to yourself, because at the end of the day, you don't know whether he's ever going to talk. You don't know if he will, if he won't. There's no such thing. Like, as far as apraxia goes, I guess it's one of those things where they can wake up one morning and talk, or, be 10 years down the line, they can wake up and not be talking, So it's nothing that says that, it can be treated or not, from what I understand. What's that?
Somebody music.
Oh, geez. Okay, sorry, y'all. But so we had to stop doing that. We had to stop, and had to, talk to the family members about that too as well. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I want to interject. So, like, for me, like my mom, she played a big role for me, because she was visiting my sister one point, and my sister was stationed like 3 hours down the road from us, and she had split her time between me and her. So on the car ride back to my house, and she was, just asking me a question. I think Taylor was about 4 at the time, and she's asked me, she's like, how do you feel, about Taylor, not speaking, how do you feel? Because, for the most part, nobody never, really asks. It was always, oh, he'll talk this, oh, he'll talk this time, or he'll talk when he's ready. And it was like, you got to the point where you were so tired of hearing that, and it's like, okay, I live in this house with this child, and like, we didn't see any progress. So you're going to speech therapy, going to ABA, doing all these things, and that we thought we were doing, the right things we thought we were doing to help him, and we wasn't seeing any progress. So, talking to my mom, and, on the way back, and she like, what she like, and I told her then, I was like, I feel that at this rate, he's probably, never going to talk. Cause like I had got to the point where I was so tired of beating myself up with, oh, he'll talk when, next year, and then next year come and go, no words. Oh, you know what? He'll talk, because I, got to the point where I fell into the trap of what everybody kept, saying or asking. And so it was one of those things where it's like, okay, then it was again, okay, yeah, you know what, maybe next year, he'll be talking. And it was like, and then it was crazy because like Taylor is so smart.
Super smart.
Pick up things like I can teach him how to put his shirt on. I'm like, hey, where's the tag supposed to be at? The tag's supposed to be in the back. He'll flip that shirt around, put the shirt on. Put his pajama pants on, look, see the tag, put it on. And it's like he's doing all of this without being able to talk. And it's like his comprehension was just off the charts. And it's like, and it was just one of those things like, man, like for me as a dad, it's like, or as a parent, period, I want to hear my child's voice. Like I just want to, be able to, to hear daddy, or, just like the same conversation I had with Ty was the same conversation I want to be able to have with Taylor. And it's like, I got to a point where I felt like I fell into a dark space or dark place. But I work. So I use my work to mask it. Because I'm like, okay, I'm out of the house and I'm at work, 8-9 hours a day. And I'm not dealing with it. And then until I come home, and then I'm like, okay, now, I'm faced with it again. And it was like, and I wasn't given to Tawana the help that she needed because I was in a space. I literally was in a space where I was like, okay, I was disconnected. And, like,
and I'm sorry not to cut you off, but that's the difference with the mama and the dad. Like with me being a stay-at-home mom, I didn't have an outlet. Like my only thing was like 24/7
face with it.
That I had no way to not be in the middle of what was going on and to remove myself. So that was, little did I know that was like draining me little by little. Like it was literally tearing away at me, for years. And, I just never even knew because as a mom, I'm focused on just being whatever my kids need. But, I wasn't understanding that also as a mom, I need to look out for me too. I need to do that self-care, self-love type thing. But yeah.
But yeah, so, and then like I said, so it was the conversation I had with my mom. And then at some point my sister came and lived with us for a little bit. And I know she had a conversation with Tawana and she had a conversation with me. She's like, do y'all ever talk to each other about it? I'm like, no, not really. Well, we talk about it, but it would always be me being strong for her. Like when she would, get to the point where she's beating herself down. I'm like, you gotta stop beating yourself down. Like, he's healthy. He's this, he's that. Granted, I know he's not talking, but all the while in my own self, I'm beating my own self up. But I'm trying to be strong for her. And we never really, had a real conversation. Like we're literally the two parents that's actually dealing with this, and we are not sitting down and actually having a conversation. And then more so recently, about a week ago now, we pretty much had a moment where I was in here. I normally write a little note to our boys, every day, and I put it in the mirror in their bathroom so they can see it. And in this one particular note, I was just writing. And once I got to tailing, and I literally broke down because I was like, it was everything kind of like hit me all at once. And I know Tawana was like, like what's wrong? And then and so then I told her like, this, the thing with tailing, it was rough. Like I never really, besides my mom, I never really talked to nobody. Anytime somebody would, ask me something about tailing, and then I'd shut it down, or because I got tired of hearing he'll talk, or everybody got their, they want to be a doctor, or they want to be a psychiatrist, and they want to be a therapist today, and it's like, no, you don't know. Like, have you ever raised a child that's on a spectrum? No. So how are you going to help me? Have you done your research? No.
Yeah, that's the question.
So how are you gonna help me when I'm doing the research and I'm doing all of these things and I'm literally watching my child every single day and he's not progressing when it comes to his speech. Now, granted, he lots of sign language, and he knows lots of sign. And it's just when I signed with him out in public, and I had once when we was in Italy and they came over to visit. And I was standing in line one day, and one of the guy that I work with, and me and Taylor, and so I was talking to Taylor, and he signed to me, and I was answering what he signed me, and so the guy turned around and asked me, he's like, say, hey man, is your son, is he deaf? And I'm like no. If I'm talking to him, like no,
right, that didn't make sense.
He's not deaf. I was like, he's nonverbal. And he's like, oh, and of course he said, oh, but he had no clue what nonverbal mean. So I'm like, and one of those things, like, it's like, man, like, first of all, one of those questions that first you're gonna ask me that question while my son's standing right here, and he probably looking at him like, "No, I'm not deaf." But if he could talk, he'd be like, "No, I'm not deaf."
Like, no, I'm not deaf, fool.
But it's like it was hurtful because like, I know he didn't mean it in a malicious way, but it was still like no, just because he signed, everybody that signs that doesn't mean that they're deaf. Like
But a lot of people don't know that because a lot of times people don't understand. Like people don't know. Like a lot of times, like he said, people don't know what nonverbal means. A lot of people that I run into don't know what apraxia is. They don't, understand. I've had like teachers tell me, I don't know what to teach him. He knows everything. So what do I teach him? I'm just like, man, if you tell me something like that, and it's like, I'm expecting you to help me.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you mean you don't know what to teach him? So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't even know what else to say. It's one of those things where it's like, it's complicated.
Very.
It's hard. It's challenging. But my thing is, it's just our life. It's our journey. And I feel like I wouldn't want any other journey.
Nope.
I feel like our children are teaching us so many things.
Yes.
Every day we learn something new. Every day, we figure out something new. And for like our family members and friends, the ones that have been encouraging, the ones that have been that listening ear, the ones that have been, people that have been able to empathize with what we're going through, because it's hard to talk to someone if they haven't been through it, because it's like one of those things where they don't really know where you're coming from, and that in the back of your head, they don't know exactly how you feel. But I deeply appreciate the empathizing people. Like anytime I have one of my little breakdowns or whatever and I want to cry, I call my mama, I call my sister, I call my best friend, I call whoever I need to call, and I feel like they're always there with that listening ear and able to empathize with what I'm saying and help me get back on track. Help me to be able to, get it all out and suck it all up and go on about my day. So, I have one of my friends, Chandra. I don't know if she watches our video. I think she does. Hey, Chandra. But Chandra used to always tell me, Tawana, you think about stuff and give yourself a time frame. And I think this is so helpful for me. I don't know if it works for anybody else, but for me, it was helpful. Give yourself a time frame to feel a certain kind of way. Say if you want to give yourself 5 days to feel, all the guilt and the pressure and the whatever. But after those 5 days, pick yourself up and move on. Basically like, cut it out and just move on. And it's like those are things that help me because it's like, if not, I think I'll stay in that dark hole forever, because it is one of those things that is just going on day to day. I mean, it's never ending at this point. So it's easy to be, stuck in your feelings every single day, never ending. But if anyone asks us if Taylor is happy,
he's happy.
He's happy. If anybody asks us if he is, healthy,
he's healthy.
He's healthy. So my thing is one day at a time. Taylor is a bright star. Tyshawn is a bright star. And as long as we are alive and able to, we're going to continue to let them shine however they want to shine. And that's how it goes with autism. My thing is like, I just appreciate if people will get their research in and be more aware of what it is. And if you're not going to be, if you're not going to be aware, at least try to get yourself to a point where you are accepting. At least get yourself to a point where you are accepting of the children and the people around you that are autistic. Yeah. Because the stares, the comments, the things like that, they are so unwanted, and you never know what that parent is going through. So, when you see a child acting up in the store or something like that, instead of you just assuming that child is spoiled or bad or whatever the case may be, number one, learn how to mind your business. But if you can't mind your business, then at least try to be a encouraging or a uplifting voice for that parent. Whether it's an encouraging word, you're doing great, or do you need any help with this, whatever it is. But if you're not going to do that, then just continue.
Keep on going.
Do your thing and do whatever you're in the store to do, and mind your own business. Because when I tell you, there's so many parents that get so beat down by the looks and the comments and the stares and stuff and the audacity of how people try to tell you what to do with your own child.
Oh,
Me,
they need to be whooped.
yes,
Like what?
me, I used to be one of those where it was like, it used to like make me so embarrassed and so hurt when someone would like stare, if I felt like somebody felt some kind of way. But as time has gone on, I learned to say, forget them people. You look at me and watch my child, I will go off on you. Point blank, period. I do not care, because at the end of the day, you should have mind your own business. And that's just what it is. That's the end of my rant. And to keep from crying on the camera, I think that's all that I'm going to say about, how I feel right now. Do you have anything else that you want to say, babe?
No, I mean, the only thing just kind of piggyback off what Tawana said. I know a lot of people don't like that word piggyback, but hey, I'm using it. Yeah, as I remember times even with Ty when he was little, we was in Minot and going into Walmart, and I'm talking about he throwing a fit. Like I'm talking about, like I had to leave out of the store fit. Normally with Dad, he normally act right, but for whatever this day, he had a sensory overload. It was too many people, too noisy, and he had to get up out of there. And I knew that that's what it was. So, of course, people looking at me, but I didn't care, because I'm like, my whole thing is, if you're going to say something to me, I'm, snap back at you. But I wasn't worried about that. At the end of the day, I'm focused on my child. I need to get my child up out of here, get him back to the car so we can regroup, gather himself, and then we go back inside the store, because that's what my child needed at that time. It's like he has at that time, a lot of sensory stuff. He's, grown out of a lot of that stuff now, but then it was loud noise, too many people, and it would set him off. And the only way he would calm down, you would literally have to leave where you were at, because that's the only way you would calm down. You can have a buggy full of stuff and picking them up, walking about in that store, because that's what it called for. And like at the end of the day, I wanted to be one of those parents where I don't want to discipline my child a certain way and then come to find out it's something that my child couldn't help. And
that's my motto right there.
I wouldn't want to be when my child get 18, 19 years old and say, hey, remember back when I was 7, 8, 9 and you did this and I couldn't help that. And how bad and sucky you would feel as a parent to know that your child couldn't help something, and you thinking, okay, I'm doing the right thing by disciplining you this way, when all the while your child couldn't help it because of their diagnosis. So for the parents that out there that do have kids that's on the spectrum, we're there with you. Hope y'all can continue to follow us on our journey. If you need any help with assistance, anything, or ask us questions of things that we have possibly already went through, that could help you. We'll put the email address in the description as well, if you want to send us an email and ask us anything, or you can leave a comment as well. And we'll definitely get back with you. Like she said in the beginning, the whole point of this video is to share our journey and also help people too, because we know that, want y'all to know that y'all not alone. Because that's how we used to feel, and part of the reason why we started this channel, because we want to help people, and then we want y'all to come on a journey with us too and see what our life is like as autism parents.
So yeah, once again, like he was saying, go ahead and we're going to give you guys our email address. If you want to be anonymous and you want us to talk about, answer your questions on video, then we can do that as well. And just, our email will be autismjourney2@gmail.com, but we'll add it into this comments or down, drop it below. I'm getting tired. But for the sake of not having a long video, we're going to go ahead and cut this one short. And we're going to try to figure out the next content, guys, for the next week. Sorry for the delay. I have had a knee replacement. I had a knee replacement at the beginning of the month of March. So it's been a struggle, needless to say.
She's getting better though.
Struggle. Needless to say, but yeah, we're gonna go ahead and keep popping out some videos for you guys, let you guys know how we feel. But we would appreciate if you guys could give us some direction in where you want us to go with our videos. But yeah, once again, we want to thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for subscribing. Thank you for following and hitting the bell. But if you haven't, hit the subscribe button. Also hit the bell, of course. Like, share, and comment under the video. Let us know what you guys think. And make sure you know, invite your friends, send this video to your friends that you think has autistic kids, or someone that you know that is autistic, somebody that you know that thinks that child might be autistic. Bring them over to our journey and let them check out our videos and see if any of this stuff hits home for them as well. But okay, once again, guys, we're going to go ahead and get off of this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you all, and we will check in with you later. All right.
Peace.
Bye.
L double got that fire.